Good evening and welcome.
Evening all.
Evening.
We're obviously joined this week by Mark, aka at Hutchy Airsoft Sniper, and aka Silly Ghillie. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, I'm good, very well, thank you.
I'm good. I'm very well, thank you.
Charlie, Nick, James, Stip. Hi, guys. So this is the first of our sort of skills and drills series of videos. We're going to be doing these across the year. So we're not going to be doing all of these sequentially. But the idea is that we're trying to share knowledge. We're going to create a platform that we can all share all that beautiful, good, gooey stuff that we've all learned. So we can get experts in to teach us stuff. And this week we're obviously covering concealment, camouflage, and sort of all things sort of ghillie sniping.
Sniper-ripery.
Yeah. So let's kick off. So do you guys want to sort of introduce yourselves, give an idea of your backgrounds and sort of what sort of airsoft? I mean, we all know you like sniping, but what sort of airsoft stories you've got and stuff like
that? Yeah, I could go first. I mean, well, I've been playing now for 8, maybe 9 years, I say. Maybe a little bit longer, I'm not sure, on and off. But I first got into sniping. I started off as running an AEG, and I played about 6 games with an AEG, and it was actually a fairly decent one. It was like a Crytek LVOA, and I bought it sort of like off second hand and whatnot, and I didn't even know what a Crytek LVOA was, if I'm honest with you. Played about 6 games with that, went to a site, and some guys were sniping, and I thought, a sniper rifle, I'll have a go at that, and had a go at that, and I thought, yeah, that's a bit of me, that is. Tried that, started watching some YouTube videos, that's when sort of Novritsch was just coming on the scene. Mm-hmm. And he was really, at the time, there was other snipers out there, but only really him, which was kind of the sort of the footage that you could sort of watch, the BB traveling and whatnot. And yeah, I just kind of sort of started that sort of loadout, an urban loadout, and then I sort of bodge ups was sort of around at that time as well, and I was like, maybe I should try a leaf suit and or a ghillie suit. I had several failed attempts at ghillie suits. I started off with the string leaf suit.
Oh Christ, I had one of them.
Which as Ed's going to tell you, they're insanely hot, and they just snag and everything. And I wore it up at the sandpit, and I don't know whether you guys must have played the sandpit at some point. And it was kind of an urban site. It had like an open areas and woodland, and in the urban area with bits of concrete. I was wearing this ghillie suit in between the trees, and I was getting snagged and everything, and that quickly come off, and then I went into another leaf suit, which was kind of like like strips rather than string. It was like strips, and I wore that, but again, that was really heavy and really hot, and then that kind of went in the bin, and then I just come across like leaf suits, and it just sort of snowballed from there, and it just kind of grew as I started playing, and it went on from there.
Oh, fair play, mate. Yeah. Cool. So you've tried many different suits and sort of finding comfortable with what you got now, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with what I've got now. I mean, I've still got now. I've got probably got about four ghillie suits, and in different sort of styles and setups. I've got like a couple of traditional. I've got the old traditional like ghillie sort of cape where it's got the elastic patches on the back. No leaves on it. It's just complete mesh with the elastic straps where you can actually put loads of veg in.
Yeah.
I've only worn that once, and then I've got like a cape which has got like the leaves on it, like the leaf strips as what you would on a leaf suit, and that's just literally got the classic 2-buckle button up here. And that I can wear in MilSims and stuff like that with like a chest rig underneath. And I've got I can put like natural veg in it as well. And that works really well. And then I've just got the standard sort of the leaf suits that me and Ed wear to this day.
Fair play, mate. Nice. About yourself, Ed?
So yeah,
into the sport.
Not quite as long as Hutchy. I left school and got into airsoft. So probably 7 years now. And then I did take a long break when I went to uni. So then, and then when I came back, I kind of already started sniping and ghillieing, but back then, like sniper rifles were, well, there wasn't like the SSG 24 even or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you had to learn how to tech and I hadn't really done that yet. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't really outranging anything. So I got a HPA system and thought, oh, I'll be really sneaky and quiet in a ghillie suit, and that'll be really fun. So I did that for a year or so, and then I was playing at Battle Lakes, and I met Hutchy, and this must have been almost 2 years ago now, and a year and a half. And he had his striker there, and I took a few shots with that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this again. And yeah, since then I've really only ever used a sniper with a ghillie, a full ghillie, every time I play. So I won't ever wear BDUs or anything like that. So yeah, and then recently, due to my situation, I've had to take up a part-time job making ghillie suits, which is kind of really fun to do, but I'm getting to the point now where it's actually kind of want to move on and create something that I can just sell rather than actually crafting them. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. So I craft suits for other people, custom suits. So people will send me a picture of the environment they play in, and I'll try and advise them, like based on their budget, what I can do for them. I mean, this is obviously something you can teach, and I would always say to someone that messages me, look, mate, you can do this yourself. So, but there's always those people that want it off the shelf, and that want to pay, that want to have it perfect, like first time. I'm not saying it's perfect.
Well, you say that, Ed, but I mean, I've just got a picture here of one of your suits. Yeah. Like, that's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there is genuinely no. I've learned this from it. There is actually no jacket there. He just literally just takes pictures of the forest floor and says there's a jacket there. It's
yeah. You
don't fall for people.
Don't get fooled by those though. That's a close-up picture. It depends. Like if I move the camera away, it might not look so good. So just because the camo looks really good close up, definitely doesn't mean that it's good 30 meters, 40 meters away. The
thing is, Ed, as well. Like you're busy at the moment, so you seem to be busy all the time. So you must be doing something right if people are like going, you know what, I'm gonna spend X amount of money to get someone to make me a suit.
Exactly that, mate.
You must be doing something right.
Oh, thank you. I had been making my own suits. Like I was a bit of a perfectionist with my own suits, so I kind of knew what I was doing before I got advertised and set myself up. But I've certainly learned a lot on the way. I know there's someone in the chat now called Leona. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Leona Yanka, who makes some of the best. Like he's been doing it a lot longer than me, and he makes suits that I could never make at the moment. And there's many other crafters like Fame at HP, Laurent Quo, and yeah, it's a lot of French people that make really, really good suits. So yeah. Don't know how I got sidetracked. So yes, that's where I'm at now.
No, fair play, mate. Good on you.
Cool. Well, I mean, do we? Because we're sort of talking about making suits and stuff. Do you want to sort of give us a bit more information on how you go about how would I go about basically starting off with a ghillie suit? I mean, I've tried. I'm still on the stringy suit stage, so I'm in no way an expert. So I want to learn.
Yeah, I suppose like your first steps into sort of crafting, maybe like a basic sort of a kit list almost, or like materials, tools. What sort of thing would you be sort of looking to start off small and work your way up to something like camouflage and a set of glasses or something like that, perhaps, or something? I don't know.
I think a lot of it fundamentally comes down to what sort of type of ghillie suit you want. I mean, whether you want like a type of like a Viper hood where it just covers your shoulders and your head, or whether you wanted to go for like a cape version, which I mentioned earlier on, where it's just like a two little buckle up here, leaves you kind of like your lower chest and your belly exposed, so you can get to a rig, put a rig on underneath. Or did you want to go full ghillie and do trousers and the whole shebang? So I think a lot of it comes down to what sort of ghillie you want, and then once you've decided what you want, then there's various options you can go, to start crafting. I mean, fundamentally, the easiest way of doing it is getting a ready-made sort of suit, That's the easiest way of doing it, and then adding stuff to that. Or you can, if you wanted to, like do something like what Ed's done in the past, where he's got BDUs and added stuff to that. So there's various ways sort of around sort of crafting a suit from scratch. Me personally, I've never gone down the route of trying to sort of craft BDUs and stuff. I've always been a little bit on the lazier side, where I've gone and got a leaf suit and then added stuff to that.
Yeah, that's the road I went down. I've literally got one of the Rust Camo hoods and hood and cape.
Yeah.
And so I've just bought that. It's got the basic leaf arrangement on it, and then just added some raffia and bits and bobs to it down the line, and picked up some crap off the forest floor when I've been laying about, and never actually proved it out. But it's it's natural stuff. So
ferns. I mean, ferns.
That's it, exactly.
Ferns. Everyone has a fern. I love ferns.
Just one in the middle there.
Just one. It's that sort of classic Dad's Army look, isn't it? Really, just
the one stick up like that. So it's fine.
I see a lot of people wearing a boonie hat. They're wearing BDUs. Nothing wrong with this, but they're just wearing a boonie hat that's covered in leaves. It's just, it works. I mean, it's something. I guess it would help, but yeah.
And that's just to completely emerge, and all it is just a crown of leaves at the top.
Well, the head is the most important bit, but yeah.
It is. The whole head, though, but not just like the top part.
No. Just a bright face as well. No cam cream.
A fern hat.
Brilliant white.
I was going to say, there's nothing better when you see someone like really kind of elaborate camouflage on their head, and then literally just a bright white face or something like that.
Again, I've played at sites where there's been a guy. I think I was at Ace Combat once, and there was a guy, and he was wearing like a really quite well done crafted suit. And he was on the other team, and he was let's just say he was a little bit giving Ghillie snipers a bad name by not taking hits, should we say? And he was he made a play to try and sort of hunt me down and whatnot. And I just set up a little trap for him, and he come walking in, and it was the way he was moving and stuff like that. But he decided, because it was getting hot, to take this front bit off. So all he had was a pair of black, sort of like round sort of goggle things, and he's walking in, and all I could see pretty much was like, he was quite well crafted, but all I could see was this like white face with these black round circles like that. Crazy, and it was easy pickings for me, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he went off cursing.
As you do.
So what? Yeah. So I guess I think your original question was like, what materials or what do you need to start crafting? So like the main thing I think most of us use are these mini cable ties, and basically they go through the base of the mesh and hold on all of the material. So this is one type of material that you can use. There you go. So that's a BDU that's had, if you zoom in, hundreds and hundreds of cable ties threaded into it.
I see. Yes. Okay.
So you use something called an awl tool, if I haven't got one. Basically, it's just a sharp spike, and then you thread
that as well somewhere. Hang on. There we go.
Yeah, that one. So you thread the thread. It doesn't split the fabric. It just it widens it apart big enough to get the cable tie in, and then you put. What I do, I don't know if this is what other people do, but I put all the cable ties in all in one go, and then craft the suit. And because you can then do it a lot faster because you threaded all the cable ties, you can keep sight of the plan you were trying to do in the start. So if you're doing it really slow, you kind of lose sight of what you're trying to achieve. But yeah. And then in terms of like what you attach, well, there's really only three or four materials I use, but for greens, it's like I only really use Halo screen, which is quite an expensive material, but well worth it. Good. And then for browns, I'll use cottons, so cotton rags, and that's actually cotton sheets that I buy in stock and dye different shades of brown, and then I'll sometimes use like bits of string or hessian or coconut rope. yeah, it's basically a really natural looking rope.
Mhm.
And then there'll always be raffia, but raffia doesn't last, but it does look really good when the customer receives it. But no, seriously, you should add raffia to really any suit, I think.
So when you're doing like a BDU jacket or something, then Ed, would you have like a format, a plan of how you're going to attack it regarding putting the foliage and your bits and bobs on there? Like, would you start from the bottom and work your way up through the jacket, or would you be sporadic with and just sort of like place bits on there loose and think, yeah, that works, and we'll just shuffle it about until you're happy with how it's sort of looking, and then start fixing it down? Or would you have a sort of like a pre-planned sort of method of how you're going to sort of like dress it up, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, so some people are really like particular and will only use those full materials that I was talking about. But I think that certainly around the shoulders and head, you want to like bush out that thing so you completely break up the shape of the head. And there's not really any materials apart from a few that do that. And those materials are like fake ferns. Obviously, you can add natural veg, but I mean, I'll come on to that later. But as for fake materials that don't degrade, the only real thing that does that for me is like ferns, because the fake ferns you get that are really, they stay together really well. But then, yeah, elsewhere on the suit, in terms of like patterns, so you get, he's going to call me up on this, Leo Narenka, but yeah, you want to create a macro pattern if you can. And what I mean by that is like, don't just put them on randomly, put like 5 colors here, 5 colors there, 5 colors there. And at distance, those colors won't merge together. Whereas if you just put them all randomly, you'll just be one color, and there's no point really in the camouflage at that point.
Ah, right, okay. So almost like a block of colors in sort of chunks across the suit. Right, okay, that makes perfect.
And that's why like something like the Novrich leaves or the fake leaves that you see everyone wearing, I mean, they can be okay, but the thing about them is they're so big that it's like trying to paint a painting with a wall painter roller thing. Like you want something a bit more fine, that you can actually create a pattern.
Ed, just going back to when you in your crafting that you said you use that like the spike. I mean, I use like a bolle needle, which is slightly smaller and it's got like a little hook on the end, so like that pokes through like ghillie suit mesh or like a really sort of fine material. And then what you do is at the end of it, I'll attach some raffia or some cotton or something at the end of that. So then as you poke it through, the hook opens out and then you can pull it back through again so that it kind of forms like a loop, and then it's easier to tie up. I mean, I've used one of those for quite a number of years now.
Obviously I use them for my fishing, the old boiling needles, and you can various lengths and sizes you can get them in.
That's it, yeah. It's another little kind of tool that you can use.
Sorry, I'm writing down all the questions. We can quickly dive into a series of questions.
Dive in the
this
chat,
bit of software is not the best for basically like just highlighting questions so I can go back to easily. So I have to make proper detailed notes as to who's asked what. And because, you know, I don't know how, if we ever got more than this number of people on the stream, I'd genuinely struggle. But basically, let's go back to the top. So the first question we had was, it was more of a statement, but I thought it was an interesting one. So Grey Fox said, stringy suits smell really bad after a while too. Is that true? I mean, I didn't give mine a chance to smell. There are a few snipers that do smell when they wander past.
Yeah, me probably being one of them. To be fair, I don't really wash my suits, but I don't really ever care to. I think it's every now and then maybe I might give it a wash down with a hose or something like that in the garden, but I'm not going to go and stick it in a washing machine or anything like that. That's not how it's going to be. I think it needs to be kind of an earthier type sort of smell, so shall we say? And
rugged and smelling like a geezer, basically.
Yeah. I mean, not like smelling like a hamburger or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm just saying that it's got all my suits have got a particular smell to it, and that's just down to the way where it is. But washing them and stuff like that in the washing machine,
I'm gonna have to take snippets now of your suits and just keep them in a little sealed bag. So if I get a whiff on the breeze, I can go.
He's come through this way.
Over that way.
You've got like some sort of like person tracking me.
That's it. Yeah, I'll be some sort of sniper bloodhound. Just
send out the dogs.
Grey Fox also asked, favourite time of year to play regarding concealment?
I would say it's a really difficult one because obviously summer's way easier. But then if you're sniping, you're going to be clipping so many twigs and foliage on the way there that it actually becomes more difficult. So spring, I would say, because it's like a balance between summer and winter, and you've still got like very low vegetation, but nothing on the trees, which is where you're kind of shooting. So yeah, spring. But I mean, but you can do it. You can do it all year round, as long as you have two suits, green and brown.
I think a lot of it does come down to the site that you're playing at as well. Maybe, and I've done this as well. Whenever I've played a new site in particular, I always try and look at look up on YouTube to see if there's any gameplay videos, or if it's just to try and get a lay of that. Not so much about what the site's like, but what the site's like for cover, for foliage and stuff like that, and especially at the times of year, because obviously people play sites all year round. So in the winter time, see what sort of cover you can get and what sort of foliage is available, because some sites have rhododendrons which are green all year round. Some sites have pine trees which kind of are green in places all year round, but then there's some sites that have got oak trees and all, that shed all their leaves and it's completely bare, and it transforms the site. So then you've got to kind of pick your suit to sort of suit the site, really.
Fair enough. Stip says, question specifically for Ed. With the Ghillie suits you make, do you get to test them before they go back to the customer?
Yes. I'm very lucky. I live in the countryside and I have a wood that is next to my house, and I can always go in there. And then also I've got my
naked ramblers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll come back to that story in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always get to test them, and I know obviously it's a garden, but in the garden there is like every single vegetation you can imagine, so you can kind of test it there. But obviously it's better to go into like a weedy patch or a kind of thing like that. But yes, I always test them, and most of the pictures you see on my Instagram where the suit is invisible, that's all been sort of carefully staged, obviously, and it's in the wood that
I've been to Ed's house, and he's very lucky to have the garden and the shooting range out of his bedroom that he's got.
Fair play.
Nice. Ratty says, are suits made with whereas local environment or with a multi-terrain look? I think you covered that earlier, didn't you? I think you mentioned that they send you a photo with your order, or?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a bit of a difficult one as well, because like we're playing in Sussex, and although you get variation, it's really in summer you either get green or quarry, like that. that's it. Yeah. I mean, I know there's different kinds of green, but you can't really tailor a suit to a site. I mean, if a player says, "Look, I play at a site with literally only rhododendrons," then obviously I will use the darker colors of the green because they're a darker leaf. But if someone's playing in like, it's a woodland, they'll say, or oak woodland, that there's no oak leaves on the forest floor. So what they're actually hiding in is weeds, and the weeds do come up to like a foot high in the summer. So and those kind of weeds are really light. So I'll use normally quite light greens for that. But yeah, if they can get pictures, that's always good. But there's not really, like they say, always match the camo to the environment, but that's really hard because the player can move 2 meters to their right and they'll be in a completely different little spot where it won't work as well as if they were back there. So yeah.
And I suppose that's the trouble with woodland as well. Sometimes you're moving into light and dark spots continuously throughout an event or throughout a skirmish day. It's constantly changing, isn't it, really? So
and as well, things like a lot of sites, the terrain changes massively as well. I mean, there's a few sites in the UK where it goes from ground zero. If you've ever played down there, is a prime example. It goes from like very sort of rat run rhododendron-y type sort of environment, and then it can go into like a literally you go across like a pathway, and it goes into like a pine forest. So you know, it's to try and get your suit right in that sort of environment. It's actually quite tricky.
Yeah, so pine forest was the other one. So pine forests are like there won't be that much on the ground at all, and even in the summer it will be mostly brown. So something like a Hessian suit or a jute suit would work a bit better there.
Yeah, but like we said, if you've got that type of suit purely for that sort of site that's got pine trees, that's good if the whole site is that. But if you've got to move from an area which is quite dense and green, then that Hessian suit will kind of stick out against the green. So it's trying to then maybe your movement will then sort of come into play, because you might want to stay away from that area if you can, and try and maybe go around it and stick to the areas that your suit's matched to.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll try and get a few more questions in. So Chris says, what would be your ideal sidearm for a stealth sort of approach? And most people go for the MK23.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. End of Mark 23.
No, there
isn't really anything else. I mean, there's
nothing else. There's nothing else.
You can always run around with a ghillie suit and an LMG. There's nothing wrong with that.
Can do. You know, if you want to give yourself away. But no, the MK23 is without doubt probably the go-to for every ghillie suit sniper that there is out there. And I mean, I've got another silent sort of pistol which runs on CO2, but it's not up to the MK23 standards. And with some simple upgrades, you know, it just works.
Fair news. Kicking Mustang joins us. What was the most important thing to ghillie up, gents? I've always believed head, including the face, and rifle are the most important.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you know, you say Mr. Mustang there is probably like the forefront of his videos and ghillie suits wearing, and you know, camouflage and stealth play. And with regard to the head and the shoulders, that's what's going to be on show most of the time. And if you can keep your head and shoulders above any sort of cover and not be detected, then you've got an advantage on picking out the enemy players before they even see you. Again, with regard to the rifle or whatever you're using, any sort of camo you can get on it is a bonus. If you're going to run around with a black rifle, which I see a lot of, that's not going to work. hence the what is it? I get a lot of look, it's a floating rifle or a floating gun or something like that. You know, hear that a lot.
I was going to show like the other thing, just a little tip. So that scope, everyone always when they get their scope looks like that without the USB cable, but that thing is huge. It may not look that big here, but that's about the size. Well, that will give you away. So every scope normally comes with these caps, and you can just put them on and poke a hole in it, and that's done. But then if you're playing at night or in the evening, you can take that off, and that's going to let all the light back into your scope, and you'll be able to see more easily. And it won't matter that much in the dark because everything is dark and shadows.
More shadow and that to back up.
Exactly. So it won't matter. Yeah, rifles are really important. But yeah, that scope trick is like you've seen it everywhere, I'm sure, but that's a really important one.
With camo in your main riff sort of thing, then guys, obviously, if you with regards to the movement, you're going to be holding it to your chest, or you're going to be baring your arm, sort of thing like that when you're going to take a shot. So with regards to the camo that you use on your rifle, is that very similar to what you'd use for the suit, or do you sort of go for a more of a I don't want to say like a tree branchy sort of type affected, you know what I mean? I don't need to be looking like okie dokie or anything, but do you know what I mean? Do you know where I'm going? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There is actually a guy that makes, I'm not joking, he makes bark wraps. So he makes your whole riff into a log with bark. That, I mean, that's very impressive. I don't know how well it holds up. I haven't got one, but
the only downside of that is if you put lean it up against a tree, go off with a pistol, come back, you can't find your rifle.
or sling it on the campfire in the evening and go, oh shit.
Yeah. Chop up this bit of a log here. Oh no, there goes my £600 rifle.
Yeah, just wax an axe straight through the middle of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, with my rifles, I've got a few, and like Ed, he very kindly made me a rifle wrap, and which works perfectly. On my new rifle that I've got, which the new rifle, I don't like keeping stuff black, green, or whatever. I know a lot of guys, they like to kind of they go on, they're very specific in the color they want in a rifle, whether it be OD green or whatever. No, that don't bother me, because as soon as I get it, it's going to be sprayed, or it's going to be taped, or it's going to be camo. That's how it's going to be, because that's my role.
Same with my rifles, and I'm not even a sniper.
Yeah, well, one of my sniper rifles I've got at the moment, which I've been using a lot recently, and it's an M40A5. That's got no camo on it, like as in no leaf, no or anything, no wraps or nothing. It's just sprayed, and I've kept it like that purely because the style of rifle. I like the M40 sort of style, and I want to keep it just sprayed. I don't want to put any camo on it or anything like that. But I did actually wrap it in tape, like a tape, like a Jack Pike, like a tough tape. But then I ripped it off. But the Jack Pike tape leaves like a residue, like a sticky residue, which you can wipe off. But I didn't. I just was lazy. And then as I put it down on the floor, it's like bits of stuff have stuck to it, and it's still on there now. So it's giving it like a kind of a camo effect, But yeah, it will get cleaned off and probably resprayed at some point. But yeah, I mean, that's the only rifle I've got that's not sort of giddied up, should we say?
Yeah, no, fair play, mate. Fair play.
Cool. Just a few other little quick questions. So Harry asked if I can find it. Oh, sorry, didn't get it up quick enough.
That's what she said.
When is it worthwhile getting up the bottom half?
So that's
down sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd say if you're like new to sniping and you kind of don't want to completely go into the role, you might feel a bit safer, or you might enjoy yourself a bit better if you're playing amongst your own team. And if you're doing that, you have a very small arc. Your arc of where the enemy is going to be is like normally out that way, and you can kind of conceal yourself based on that. So really the only head and shoulders are the bit that you need. What me and Hutchy always do, I mean, me more so, but we always sprint at the start of a game.
I'm too old to do that now.
Sorry, what was that word you used then?
Sprint.
You wash your mouth out, Ed.
We sprint at the beginning of the game, and this is going to sound like a really mean sort of thing to say, but we basically, the reason I'm doing that is to get away from my own team, because I don't really need to hit the enemy as hard and fast as I can, but what I do need to do is make my own team not follow me. And this is something you obviously find more at skirmishes, but if your own team is following you and they see you out there, they'll think, oh, I'll go and join him. That'll be, and after that, there's like the enemy's locked onto that position. You've seen him. There's no point in moving. So, sorry, the question, obviously, I've gone on a tangent here, but the reason we do that, so we get on the flanks, and then when you're on the flank, if a squad of guys comes towards you, you can't obviously engage all of them. Most of the time, you can't engage all of them, and you need to go down into cover. And then your arc is 360, and then you're on the ground, and you need like 360 concealment. That's why you make the suits, cover the legs, and do all that.
I think again as well, like what Ed said, the full suit is. I very rarely don't wear a full suit. The only time I probably would not wear a full suit if it was, say, maybe as like a MilSim where they've got strict color regulations, where like for team colors, you might have to wear a certain color like trousers, and I know a lot of MilSim sort of like organised augers, they're quite strict, so they don't allow maybe like Ghillie bottoms. So then that's probably when I wouldn't wear the bottoms. But yeah, for me, staying sort of undetected and not seen even by my own team, because they would just shoot you anyway. Just trying to sort of keep yourself concealed and quiet as best as you can. And yeah, that's why I think bottoms, if you want to distance yourself from everyone else and play a really stealthy game, that's where bottoms come into it. But you can get away with not wearing the bottoms. It's just.
And what do you find with that then, with regards to like your position and that, if you're out in the field? Do you guys find that you go prone more?
Yeah.
Or are you usually just taking a knee sort of thing for a majority of your shots, like more than being prone sort of thing?
I think again, I tend to sort of, and I've picked this up along the years that I've been playing. When we move, generally because Ed's the younger and the I'd say younger. I wouldn't say fit. I'd say younger because his body parts are younger and he can run longer without aching like the next day. So he's normally up the front. So if he's at the front, then we sort of watch each other if we can keep an eye on each other. And if he takes a knee, I take a knee, or I move slightly to the left, or he moves slightly to the right. And generally, I'll move so far, and I'll just basically take a knee, crouch down, and make myself into a less tall object, more like a round sort of ball or an odd-shaped object, and then just sort of see if I can pick out any sort of here, or see if I can pick out any sort of movement, whether it be gunfire or people walking, talking. And then maybe look at each other and sort of see if we can sort of move signals to each other where we're going to move to, and then we just go off from there.
That's the. So I, as you said, I'm normally a bit in front of him, but when you're at the front, you're obviously moving. I think I sent a video that we can't really show, but you have to move in slow motion, and I mean I'll ask anyone watching now, if you try and turn your head in slow motion around, it's the most unnatural feeling that you'll never do in any other thing in your life, like turning your head slowly around 360. That is a thing you have to like learn, and that's the thing that a lot of players I think don't really get about movement, how slow you need to move.
Like he's saying, if you was to do that, then you're going to pick that up quicker than anything else. But like if you can move your head as slow as possible, or like I try and do, I try and move my head, just move my eyes, like as to try and sort of see what that vision can see. And then if I can't see any further than that vision, then I'll just slightly tilt the head, or even just try and listen for something. Whether it be someone walking or talking or even breathing. Sometimes that because if they've been running, they're going to be out of breath, like me.
I love the idea that there's a whole load of people now sitting at home just practicing turning their heads slowly.
Yeah. the missus are probably, what the fuck are you doing?
It's more like, and it's more like when you're in the moment and you hear an enemy like letting his AEG off over there, and obviously the first reaction is to go that, but you can't. I mean, if there's enemies in front of you, you'll often be in a situation where you can actually see a lot of people and you don't have a clear shot, but you can't move at that point, because if one of them is looking at you, they just have to spray that bush and you're dead.
That's it.
Cool. So Hadron asked a question, if I can find it. Thoughts on the use of natural vegetation in suits?
Ed?
Well, I think Hutchy should answer this, because I use green. So the greens I use are Halo screen, and they're meant to replace the natural vegetation that you pick up, because they do reflect light the same way that do.
This is where Ed and myself are a little bit different when it comes to suits. I mean, we both wear like a Lee suit, but our sort of setup is probably quite the opposite. If you say Ed runs a very lightweight load up, I run a rig system, so and also as well he's with his suit where it's heavily crafted. My suit's crafted and my rig's crafted, but there's a lot of stuff, a lot of areas that are uncrafted, and where the areas are uncrafted, I'll add where I can natural vegetation.
I was going
to
to
the
say,
site that
I've
I'm
seen a lot
playing
of your videos. You've like before an event and that you've been squirreling away like natural veg from the site into your suits and that. I've seen a few of you doing that, mate. Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, I always do it wherever I can, whether it can be even at like some sites where there's like in the wintertime where there's no leaves, so you know, there's no ferns. So I've even gone to the point sometimes where we're grabbing like twigs. So I'll grab a bunch of twigs off a tree or off a bush, or if there's like some like long sort of reedy grass, I'll just grab a load of that and stuff it in because I know there's going to be that out in the site somewhere, you know.
Yeah, sure.
That's
so yeah, here we go. Stip says, question to both guys. What camo pattern, not a ghillie, do they think is the most effective in the UK if they were advising a new player on a budget?
Good question. Would you think?
I would say on a budget, for greens, I would say the Pencott Wildwood, which is what that BDU that you saw earlier, that's Pencott Wildwood.
I can find it.
I mean, there's loads of opinions on this, and I don't think there really is a right answer. But yeah, that green there is brilliant, especially as a base for a ghillie. But even if you're in the shadows, and then for winter, like brown suit, a brown BDU, I think multicam can be quite good. It's a bit, try to get one with a high cotton content because the polyester content ones always have a sheen on them. But I mean, also, DPM can be okay as well. So
also as well, like because Stip said, like on a budget, the Pencott. I mean, it's not exactly cheap, is it? I mean, again,
it can be. It's not. It's. I guess you get a lot of so second-hand stuff. Maybe it's harder to find, but if you're buying it new, it's going to be pretty much the same price as other stuff.
I mean, Lance as well. I mean, I've watched him. You could always get a pattern of some sort and maybe dye it or spray it or add some sort
of... he loves the spray can.
Oh, I love a rattle can, mate.
Loves the rattle can, does Lance, especially on his rigging and stuff like that, which, you know, it works. You know, if it works, then yeah, fair enough, you know.
I mean, I suppose if I had to pick a camo pattern for the UK, I mean, Woodland DPM is on a budget. If you're going to go for a baseline to start out in your sniper journey sort of thing, something to work with. I mean, if you're lucky enough, you might be able to pick up a Woodland DPM smock, which is like an ex-sniper issue one that's got all the loops already sewn into it. You can just pack veg into them all day long. I'm lucky enough to have one over there hanging up. So, but yeah, if I had to pick a camo pattern, it would be DPM Woodland.
It's a good question,
especially in the UK.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good question from Stip. I know he would want me to mention Phantom Leaf, and that's quite expensive. But that's got a very interesting micro pattern. So you get macro pattern, which is like the big pattern, and then within the macro, there's like the micro pattern, and that's got a very interesting kind of texture going. But then there's other people like Lakova that really don't think that's a good idea, and yeah, you get a lot of different opinions on that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I've got Phantom Leaf like trousers. And I'm a great fan of the colours, but they're not the cheapest. But then again, it's if you want to sort of save up and get a pair, then then that's what you do, I suppose. It's what you can afford.
Cool. The third person says, how do you decide when you have either added too much or too little to your suit, and how do you split up sections of colour? Is it better to use blocks of colour or mix it all up? So I know we sort of discussed, obviously, kind of patchy,
we sort of touched on that
all the way through. But I mean, how do you work out if you added too much or too little?
I think a lot of it is as well. I mean, like Ed pointed out earlier on about this area here, making out like trying to deform the human shape. If you add too much of it, then you're going to be like a massive blob. So you'll just be walking around like a massive sort of like womble walking through the trees. So I think what you need to do is put kind of a little bit, lay your suit down on the floor. Don't obviously try and put stuff in because it's the hardest thing to do. I always put if you're adding natural veg, I'll lay it out on the forest floor. I'll add a bit and then I'll put it down on another part of the floor and just sort of see how that is. And then if I think it needs a bit more, then I'll add a bit more. Or if I think it's a bit too much, then I'll take a bit out. It's kind of, you've got to kind of judge it as you go. But also as well, the more natural veg that you add, the suit is going to weigh a bit more. You know, it's going to retain heat as well, so you're going to get hotter. So you know, you kind of got to weigh that into the factor as well. If you're happy with that, then crack on. But I like to just sort of lay it down, put some in on the arms, you know, shoulders, on my rig on the back. I put it on the back, and then I just lay it down on the floor, and then I just sort of don't just put it in one place. I take it up and I put it in a completely different place and see if it still works.
The French guys in the chat, they do something called boonie hat throwing. So they get their boonie hat.
I've seen it. Yeah.
They close their eyes and they chuck their boonie hat on the ground and walk back 30 paces, or I think they're meant to do 10 paces. It's an exact number, whatever it is. But they walk around 10 paces and then turn around and see if they can spot it. And if they can spot it, they ask, why did I spot it? And then what can I do to change it? And then they go back and add a bit of material on there, and then they go back, and then obviously you can do that with the full ghillie, but it's a bit harder because obviously shadows form and stuff. But yeah, boonie hat throwing, check it out. The best person to look at for that on Facebook that I've seen is Thamer HP, who's been doing it for a very long time.
He's been boonie hat throwing for quite a long time.
He has. I mean, Ghillie can sit crafting, but yeah.
I like the idea that if you've got it perfect, you've lost your ghillie.
That's perfect. You're never going to find again. You're like,
bugger that. I've got to start again.
So Liorana, I apologise. I'm terrible with pronunciation. Liorana said moving equals spotted, even if you're a camo. So I guess the question I wanted to ask, there was a couple other Ratty and Nick also asked sort of variations of this. How would you go about trying to camouflage yourself in like a more urban environment? So, I mean, for example, Longmoor, if you kind of get out of the woodlands and stuff like that, have you ever had any experience with sort of more urban camouflage? I mean, I've seen ghillie suits made out of rubbish before and like cardboard boxes and stuff, which have actually been quite effective in that situation. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
I think you kind of got to not, obviously, for one, try and pick quite a neutral suit, a brown suit, I would say. Maybe stay away from if you can, the green, and maybe not put so much natural veg. And just try and stick to shaded areas, and try not to be on plain sight as best you can. Because if you're going to stand against the wall, you're going to stick out, aren't you? So it's trying to pick the best sort of areas to go to.
I suppose in an urban environment as well, then you're going to be more heavily reliant on the actual surroundings around you to provide that cover that you'd need to sort of get your shot on target, sort of thing, as opposed to being in woodland where you've got your leaf suit on and that, so you can sort of afford to not have as much cover on your side, sort of thing, compared to what you'd be like in an urban sort of situation. Then.
Yeah, it's picking cover, which is gonna optimize your
the shadows of wind. Like you can be in a window waving at someone and they won't see you because you're in darkness. Also, that's a really important thing about concealment. Like this applies to woodland as well. If you're in the light and you're looking into the dark, you won't be able to see anything. Whereas if you're in the dark, obviously you can see really easily into the light. But interestingly, if that person in the light went and walked into the dark, he would easily be able to spot that person in the dark. It's the glare caused by all the light that means that you can't see into the darkness. So if you're ever struggling to find a sniper and you know he's kind of in the dark, in the background, try and sneak around and see and get into that dense of wood that he's in, because then you'll easily be able to spot him at that point.
If you can't spot him, listen for him. Try and listen for it. Like if he's firing, if he's shooting, if he's communicating, if he's on comms, if he's got like a radio that's a little bit too loud or whatever, just try and sort of.
Don't normally get snipers on comms, do you?
No, I don't really go on comms.
I'm yet to meet one.
Yeah, I've been on comms, but very rarely. I'm not a comms fan. I tend to sort of like have a thing go off and then that's it. I'm gone.
Just get a frequency mode. Bang.
Yeah.
Right, that's getting turned off.
But I was on a listening to a live the other night with Stip, who's in the chat now, and he says something very relatable too. You turn up to a MilSim event, and the commander takes one look at you and thinks, "You are my eyes and ears. You are my recon element for this event." And you turn up to shoot people, and it's like, okay, mate, I'll take your channel down. I'll put it in my radio, and I'll turn the radio off.
That's it, yeah. But it's right. I mean, radios can work. I just find them. It's getting the right setup as a ghillie sniper. I mean, you've got different types. You've got the bone conductors, and me personally, I've tried earpieces and I've tried all sorts. But the one what's worked for me more than anything else, believe it or not, is a radio like sort of here, turned down really low, and then it doesn't mess with my hearing so much. I've got both ears that I can hear, and I can, it's not going to. If I've got something in my ear, I tend to find it kind of confuses with my ability to hear other stuff. I
was going to just show the bone conductor headset. So if I have to wear comms, these are the ones I wear, and they're bone conductor headset. So it's sending and receiving by touching your jawbone. So your ear is completely free. You can hear everything, and then the boonie hat just goes on top. And they're good. I mean, they if they're not well on the bone, then it can be a bit fuzzy, but they are really surprisingly good. But yeah, the other thing with comms is like you'll get on the comms and you've only got like a 5-second window or 10-second windows to take a shot, and so you get on the comms and be like, yeah, shall I take him out? And by the time the commander finished talking to someone else, it's like it's already gone. So yeah, that's often what. I mean, relaying back the enemy position, definitely that's often helpful. But like having them on and using them the whole time, like you do in a squad, is really difficult, especially if you're trying to be aware of like 99% of the intel is your eyes and ears, like 1% is on the radio.
I just want to share one thing, because James C has said the British Army came up with Brickaflage for urban camo. If you think I'm joking, have a look on Google. So I have actually just jumped on to Google and found this, and I'm not even kidding. This is amazing. Look at that!
Is that straight up?
I don't know if that's real. This is
it's not real. It's not real.
I'm assuming it's not real, but I would love it if that was.
That jacket I'd probably wear down a pub or something. I think.
Brickaflage, I love it.
There is one thing I should mention, because this is like applies to just general concealment. So in an urban environment, someone like there's this term called positive space and negative space, and basically negative space is if you look at Lance, bring up Lance on the big screen, and we'll use his background as an example. Okay. So if you look at the background, so a negative space would be like the bushes where you can't really see what each individual leaf, and it's hard to see what it is. Whereas a positive space would be like one of those trunks on the tree. So obviously an urban environment is positive space, whereas a negative environment is so yeah, that when you go out and hide, try and stick to, I mean, there are obviously some camouflages that kind of work towards positive space, but it's mostly negative space. So try and stick to the places which are hard to identify, like what is there already.
I've just seen, sorry, this did come out on 1st of April 2017. So there's a couple of people in the chat that pointed that out. So yeah. I still think it's pretty cool.
Brickaflage. I love
it. Imagine if you rocked up on site with that.
Yeah. Especially in a woodland.
If you can get hold of a set of that now, I bet it'd be worth a few bob. I don't think there's too many of them knocking about.
No, I bet there
isn't. Grey Fox says, choose a great ghillie for concealment or a fantastically quiet rifle.
Why not have both?
Yeah.
Come on, you've got to pick one or the other.
I'd go with concealment, I think.
I mean, if it was a suppressor that Hutchy gave me that was incredibly quiet, I still wouldn't use it because the BB wouldn't come out the end. Hutchy's suppressors are filled with foam. No.
They work. They work. They do. But what it is, I use paint rollers in my suppressors, and because he couldn't see completely out of the end, and he said, "Oh, he's going to affect the BB," but it worked all right with my MK23. But then again, their people were so close, then I could probably throw one and hit them. So it really doesn't really matter if we're using MK23 or not.
Cool. Andy Bob says, how do full ghillie suits stand out against thermal? Do you stand out, or do you find due to the thickness of the suits it holds heat in?
No,
I don't think
there's no way you can. I mean,
no, I was about to say that must surely that's going to have an adverse effect against you wearing a ghillie because you're going to be over.
Yeah, with over thermal, you'll be just like a massive bonfire type sort of thing in a way. It's glowing, wouldn't you?
I'll be like that. Ah!
Like ET.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good question, though. Moving past the thermal aspect, what would be, you would say, the most successful tactic for dealing with you as a sniper? If you're opposing both as a single, say you've got like a single enemy attacking you, what would be the best way that they could try and take you out? And the second part of that, I guess, is how could a team do that as well? So, what would be, tactics-wise, the best way to remove you from the field?
Grenade.
Yeah.
If they knew where you were, that's. I found over the last few times that I actually have played, I found more and more players are lobbing grenades than anything else, and that's one way of getting rid of a sniper. If you know roughly where they are and they've not moved or they can't move, then a few grenades are gonna get rid of you.
I think he's asking more. I think he was asking maybe more at range. So not many people can throw a grenade.
No, yeah, but I mean, if you're backed in,
mortars are pretty good.
If you've not got an exit plan, then that's what they're going to do. But at a range, if there's a squad and I know roughly where you are, if they're a good squad and I've come up against a few, then they're gonna try and work your flanks. So it's your way to try and sort of get out of that. And me personally, I'd try and find a weak link in that team and try and exploit that weak link to try and to get out of that. That's what I would try and do. But if you've got a well-drilled team and they flank you and they encircle you, unless you've got like a tunnel or you're good at digging a tunnel to get yourself out of there, you're not going to escape.
Well, you can. I would say if your ghillie suit is good enough and you're in a good enough place, you can always go to ground and not move.
Yeah.
And they will give up.
Yeah.
And actually, that does often happen at MilSims that I've seen. But yeah, if they flank you and you want to try and take them on, you're going to die. Like you'll kill one or two, and then you'll get taken out because everyone's looking for you.
Like we said, if you've got say for instance you're in a MilSim and you're playing a MilSim and there's two snipers there. So there's me and you there, and we're in a MilSim, and we're gathering intel, and then we've been, one of us has been spotted, or there's that they get intel that there's two snipers in the area, and they come looking for us with a squad of 15-ish type sort of players. If they're tasked with finding us, if we could go to ground, but if they're just tasked with finding us and nothing else, they will
be
at
there
some
for
point.
a long time.
They could be there for a long time, and trying to go to ground for a certain amount of time is difficult. But yeah, I mean, majority of the time they probably would get bored or move on to something else. But
especially if there's other players, if they're engaging your allies, your team, there'll always be a distraction, and you can always slip away. Yeah.
I suppose from a sniper's point of view, then that's where the old comms will come into it. If you do need a little bit of bit of QRS.
Yeah.
So look, I'm in a recce, I'm in an LUP. I've got eyes on, but I'm vastly outnumbered. I could do with a couple of sections coming down just to even up the odds a bit.
Exactly.
Give you a chance to move. If you've got some intel that you've gathered that you can't post over comms or a package that you've retrieved or something like that, then
I mean, the other option I think you would have in that situation, say you're like the enemy is far away, if you take enough of them out with the sniper rifle, they will often think that there's more of you, or they just don't want to approach you. You can it doesn't happen often, but you can hold them back from doing anything, and they just don't seem to want to attack you.
Yeah, sure.
And
I always
to call for QRF.
If I can take a player out of a sniper rifle, then I will, and I will if I can get to maybe two or three like enemy players in view, I would tend to go with one maybe that's at the rear rather than the one at the front.
Yeah,
because then that will then disorientate the two at the front to sort of look round, and then once they're looking around, then you can maybe try and take out the other two, or if anything, they might scatter. Then that gives you a chance to maybe slip away or maybe hit another one. Maybe you've got to kind of play it by ear. But I'll always try and hit the one at the back rather than the one at the front.
Yeah, that's a really important one as well. Yeah.
Cool. So there's been a couple interesting comments in the chat. So Nick says, basically, close the distance and hope they shoot your mate and not you. Andy says, Andy runs an LMG as well. So how to get rid of a sniper, just rush them one shot versus my full auto is down to numbers. And he calls it mowing the lawn.
That's sometimes,
there was a game I played with Hutchy.
Mowing the lawn.
And they killed me and took me out, and I just wanted to spectate, so I stood up and spectated, and they were so convinced that there was another sniper right next to me, and I think two LMG guys were lighting this bush up for 2 minutes of just constant hammering this bush, and Hutchy was like 30 meters down the path. This is at Ace Combat, by the way, up the hedge, and he was taking them out, and they kept shooting, and because they kept shooting, he got his Glock out and started shooting them, and they still couldn't hear his Glock because they were shooting. But yeah, it's one of the reasons why you get so many players saying, I'm hit, can you not hear me? Can you not hear me? No, mate, I can't, because my AEG is going off right next to my ear. It's like
that's why another way of like what we try and do, if there's a player and he's firing, I'll try and shoot them when they're firing. So then they kind of are going to be a little bit disorientated, because if it's hitting them and if they're not firing, it's quiet, and it hits them sort of say on the shoulder, they're going to know it's come from maybe somewhere on there, maybe 10, 11 o'clock. Whereas if they're firing and they've got the gun in the shoulder and they're moving around and they get hit in the top of the helmet, or in the hand or something, they're not going to really know where it's come from. So I always tend to sort of use their noise as a vantage point for me shooting them, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
It's I don't really try not to, if I can help it, shoot someone when they're just walking, or sometimes it is quite appealing though.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But someone sitting on the stump getting shot in the nose, I can see the appeal to that.
Oh yeah, actually, that's a good point. Let's go back to this Naked Ramblers. Come on, Ed, what was the Naked Ramblers story?
I think I posted this on a group chat. So this is it was your group chat, of course.
Yeah, I know the story. I just want to share it with the.
So I live in a field, and I was focusing the lens on my run cam, which is the scope, which is the camera you have on your thing. And I wasn't recording at the time, but I saw these naturalists walk across our field, and I just thought I'll go for it, and I switched this camera on, and it was so blurred it wasn't even worth watching. It was just funny, but yeah.
Just imagine you sitting there, just zeroing your scope and just going, "Oh, blimey!"
That's a lot closer than I was hoping for.
This is good.
I reckon that happens a lot at Ed's place. I think that's why he's got the rifle set up at that window at that point.
That's it, constantly. Yeah.
Got a telescope right next to it as well.
James C has said, have you ever made a reversible ghillie suit, i.e. woodland on one side and a grass-based camo on the other?
No, but there's people that do that. There have to be real minimal suits, so minimal crafting. And the mesh has to be really breathable. I mean, you could do it on like a KNCS or any suit, but you're going to be so hot.
Yeah.
You've got double the layer of crafting as well as the actual suit itself, haven't you?
And obviously what they're going for there would be a green and a brown suit, so you can move from deciduous woodland to green woodland. It's done. It can be done, but have a look at MIM Tech. He's another French. They're a French company that make these suits, and yeah, all of his suits are reversible, so they're brown on one side and green on the other, and they're not always crafted on both sides. But what you can do is craft them in the field with like fake materials that they bring with them.
I guess for that sort of type of style of suit, I mean, you're not going to be wearing it as skirmishing, and you're not going to be certainly not going to be running around in it. So it's going to be one of those ones where you're going to be in a high position for a certain amount of hours, because you're going to get hot wearing that, especially with natural veg on it as well. So that's probably where they might work.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing, I mean, if anyone is interested, I would say go and have a look at the suits that MimTech do, because some of them are not like anything you've seen before. So they're not a ghillie suit with like sticky outy parts. They're just folds of material that kind of make deformed shapes. And because it's so like everywhere, that's the ghillie suit in itself, and that's why they can get away with having a reversible suit, because it's so baggy. And yeah, you should. They're a company that makes suits for special forces units that are in operation today. So obviously they can't show everything that's the latest stuff, but it's very cool what they come up with.
Cool. What was the website of that again?
MIM Tech, exactly how it's spelled. MIM Tech.
Cool.
MimTech.
So, just to sort of round off the evening, if there's someone out there that wants to basically start making a ghillie suit from scratch, low budget option, but the best that they can do with that, what would be your sort of suggestions on how they would go about that? I mean, we've obviously sort of spoken the differences between stringy and leaf. I mean, would you suggest that they start with leaf, go straight away with that, or
definitely leaf suit?
Yeah, the stringy. The only good thing, I think, the only thing that a string suit probably would work in is if you're playing in maybe an autumny type where there's lots of leaves on the ground. It's a bit, you can roll the suit around in the stringy suit around on the leaves. And it just basically picks up a load of leaves and bits of bracken and broken old bracken and stuff, and then that kind of works for a while. But then you've got that aspect of the stringy suit being really, really hot and really warm, which is why you see a lot of guys, especially at skirmishes, that have got the stringy suit. They've got the stringy suit on and their head's completely exposed because they're hot and they want to cool down. But when their head's exposed, then the suit's useless. So I would go for leaf over stringy pretty much.
But this suit here is what I would suggest to any beginners. So this is an MFH suit.
I have one of those.
Yeah, it's a really good base color. So it's brown base color, and this was a budget suit that I made just for myself at the start. And it's got raffia, hessian, and cotton. And the base suit, I think, is £60 to £70 you can get it for. And then the materials on top of that with the cable ties, you're looking at like 20 quid. So 80 quid. And that suit there's a video on my Facebook of me making it, of time lapse. And you can see it being used, and it works really well. The only thing I'd say about the MFH suit is it can rip. But if you're a player that like doesn't run through brambles and stuff the whole time,
if you used to wear the top part and not wear the bottom part, because I had that same suit, and the legs were shredded within the space of maybe 3-4 weeks. It was that thin, but the top lasted quite a while. Because it's not being dragged through. Like on the lower part, it's not being brushed against so much. So the top would last longer. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you have time, obviously the cheapest solution for trousers replacement or like you could do a top, but it's quite hot. But certainly trousers. I use BDU trousers. Yeah. So these are just a pair of BDU trousers that have material attached, and for a brown version of those, you could do those for like 15 quid. I mean, you get them second-hand materials, the cottons from a second-hand shop, and the raffia from a second-hand shop, and then all you need is a cable tie and an awl. So maybe 20 quid, and that will last you if the trousers don't rip, which they can obviously, but if the trousers don't rip, that will last you forever.
Funny to say, actually, with regards to your BDUs, the only other person I've seen actually do that was Kenny. Kenny done it with his trousers. He had a pair of, I think they were
ones.
Yeah, multicam trousers or something. Yeah, I think they were just multicam Viper trousers, and he got a load of Jack Pike mesh, like a big sheet of Jack Pike mesh, and he cut it up. And he just basically cable tied it to his same as you, cable tied it to the trousers.
Oh, he cable tied. I thought you were going to say shoe glue.
No, he did try that, and I think it wasn't sticking as well.
Yeah.
So he was using cable ties, but he actually made a whole kind of like a rig and stuff out of this Jack Pike stuff, and it looked good, but it was just insanely hot. But I think he might even still have them trousers. I think.
Yeah, Kenny was watching earlier because he posted up, "Who are your guests? I've never heard of them."
Yeah, I know.
Cheeky little sod.
Cool, right. So if anyone else has any other questions, please whack them in the chat. Guys, do you want to just tell us where, or tell everyone where they can find you if they want to learn more, or sort of drop you any questions or anything?
Yeah, do you want to
go? No, I think we covered everything.
No, just like your Instagram and stuff like that. Or give us all your social.
Yeah, just where people can.
I was reading the comments.
I'm sorry, no, sorry, I'm not going to do that.
I was reading.
I don't want to talk to anyone anymore.
I was reading the comments. Instagram Silly Ghillie with 3 underscores, and YouTube is just Silly Ghillie. And make sure you spell Ghillie.
You've got a Facebook page, Ed?
And a Facebook page, yes, Silly Ghillie. They can.
Yeah, and I've got Instagram Hutchy Airsoft Sniper. Facebook page Hutchy Airsoft Sniper, and and YouTube Hutchy Airsoft Sniper. So
3 for 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Brilliant.
Cool. Well, while the last few questions come in, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, you can email us at nofochat@hotmail.com. Instagram is November_Foxtrot_nofo. Our Facebook is November Foxtrot nofo, and YouTube is November Foxtrot. I'm going to do my little YouTube plug again because we've got to 90 followers now. I only want to get to 100. Literally, 100 is all I'm after. Is it 91 now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So basically, genuinely, I only want to get to 100. Yeah, and after we've got to 100, I will never ask again. It's only merely because we get a custom URL then, and that to me is that's like the pinnacle at the moment. Oh, nice one. Cool.
93.
Oh, 93. Blimey. There's 7 more. So if everyone tells one of their friends, we'll hit that, no problem. So that's cool. Next week, we're going to be revealing our MilSim in a bag. So join us with that one. We have the winner of that and also the nominator. We're going to be sort of going through all of that with them. And there's also sort of a bit of a mindfulness session as well. Oh, thanks, Mark. There'll be a mindfulness sort of session on that as well. So that should be a good episode. And then last few questions. There was one on there. Oh, James C asked, with MimTech, is there any advice on where they can be found?
I've posted their link in the private chat.
You did.
All right, so we'll put that on their Facebook page after this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can probably do something fancy now where I do.
Bring money.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, cool. There was another question as well. If I can find it. Honestly, this software is terrible for questions. I have to scroll through every comment, and there's no way of highlighting anything at all. I've lost it now. It's gone. Yep. Oh
no.
When does the Emporium open, Mike? Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, that's a private chat thing. No, I'm not going to cover that. Cool, right.
Just stop.
Yeah. Stiff also posted up. There's a concealment.solutions page on Facebook. I haven't looked at it. I don't know what it is, but if that's of any interest to anyone, then feel free to go and have a look. Cool. Is there anything else anybody wants to add?
No, all good, mate. It's been fantastic.
Cheers for having us on.
No worries. Well, thanks for coming.
It's been really good.
Cool. Well, in that case, guys, thanks for joining us. Everyone,
Thank
thanks
you.
for joining us in the audience. And yeah, join us next week, and we'll see you then.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, gents. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Good night, all.
Good night.